everyone. Welcome to Wild Thoughts with Nick and Koki. I'm your host, Nick, and this is my co-host, Koki. So this is the first installment of our new podcast, but the fourth or fifth installment of podcast with Koki and I together. And we're going to start off with something that happened a couple blocks down the road from where we are attending college.
Down here in downtown, yeah.
An event that actually both of us were attending. So, Koki, you want to walk us through what was going on while you were down there at the rally?
I got down the rally I'd say an hour before his speech, hour and a half before his speech, and we got in line with the Trump people just to experience it. You know what I'm saying? It was pretty cool, to be honest. Like just seeing the contrast of people. Just with emotions running high on both sides. It was tense, but I mean, I thought the police did a really good job of keeping everything together. So we were in line for an hour to wait for him, and we only got 2.5 blocks down, and his speech started. So it was you can't really. There's not much we could do, so we just bailed the line. Even though there's still 5 more blocks until you can get in. I mean, it was that crazy. I mean, I'm not even kidding when I'm saying that. And then we joined the protesters, and I took a lot of Snapchats and stuff. It was really cool. I thought it was a really good experience, seeing having such a crowd there at one time. Yeah. Then you came in a little later, right?
Yeah. So I personally had class. My classes are set up so that I don't have any in the morning, so I had some in the early afternoon. So I wasn't able to go with all of them and get in line or go. I know some people that got in, some people that waited and didn't get in, but I wasn't able to go with any of those groups. So when I got done with class, I went home or went back to my dorm, did some homework, and then a couple friends texted me and were like, hey, we're going to go back to the protests. Do you want to come out? And I was like, yeah, why not? So I went down, checked out the protests, and it was a cool experience, but
yeah.
There were definitely a lot of different sides, because there were obviously the people walking on one side of the street going to the rally or leaving the rally. And then there were people on the other side, on the protest side, that some people just let these people walk, and then some people would shout expletives or boo these people.
A lot
as
of
they
it
walked.
is as they were walking in, people were yelling, walk of shame, and very
I heard
loud,
a lot of that. Heard
which
a lot
I
of boos.
understand. But
A lot of loud expletives.
Yeah.
A lot of calling people Nazis.
Yeah, which is premature. Even though I'm not,
Yeah.
I'm no Trump fan, but that's premature.
But I don't think you can label every single person that walked into that rally.
Yeah. Those are not the sort of people who would listen to our podcast or would hang out with. But at the same time, calling them Nazis is a bit extreme.
Exactly.
It was intense. It really was. But I really thought nothing was gonna happen because of just how clamped down it was with the police. It was more. I'd never seen more police in my life.
Well, so what happened was early on, my friends and I were down there, and we were walking towards Monroe, where we ended up standing, and we walked past the group of Antifa protesters, and we were like, oh, that's bad news. And we stood there for about an hour and a half, and nothing happens. We were like, oh, this is fine. And then, I guess it was 8:15. A couple of them were like, we're going to leave and go get food. So I was like, all right, I would like to stay, but I've seen this. I've experienced it. Nothing bad happened. I'll head out. And then we got back up to the dorms, and we looked out the window and just saw the tear gas, and we were like,
tear gas in the air.
Wow, what happened?
Yeah.
And according to looking it up, it looked like a couple people got rowdy and threw water bottles and stuff at the cops, and then
they responded.
The cops responded because they not only saw people throwing things at them, but they also saw large groups who, by the way, had put it on Facebook, so the cops probably could have looked it up and done their research and known that at this time all these groups were marching towards the Capitol building to protest the Confederate statues. But at the same time, the cops were standing there, and
not knowing,
love him or hate him,
yeah,
the most important man in the United States was behind them in that building.
Yeah.
So if things getting thrown at them and people are walking
right at them.
Yeah, right at them, or just walking in a large group in a certain direction.
Yeah.
I don't know if tear gas was the only solution or the best solution, but it definitely was a solution that quickly diffused a lot of the issue.
Yeah, yeah. And it wasn't like it just stayed at the street. It kind of like spread around in a couple streets because there were kids that were coming back from the baseball club meeting in Tempe, and they just walked right out of the bus, and all of a sudden there's like tear gas in the air. So it was a couple kids came back with like tear gas in their eyes. It was pretty bad, actually.
It was an interesting situation.
The media blew up the situation, in my opinion, but at the same time, it was pretty crazy given the fact that like everything was going on 2 blocks down the street, and I mean you're just like in your dorm, and you can see it from a couple. Yeah.
And that's part of why I'm torn, because like there were innocent students that because of the way it spread got affected to an extent, and maybe the cops didn't need to throw tear gas, but at the same time, like I'm not a trained cop. I don't know what they were trained to have as their options when things went downhill were. And they were protecting and serving
the president
of the United States and the other people in that building, because whether you disagree with the people who were in the rally in support of Trump or not, the police's job is to keep the two sides from clashing at each other.
Especially what happened in Charlottesville. I mean,
especially
like this coming off it's almost a given that like something like tear gas would be thrown if anything slightly hostile would happen because of what happened in Charlottesville and how that was, I guess, poorly dealt with. And I mean, there were no white supremacists in this group. Maybe there were a few in the Trump rally, but I don't know for sure. I'm just guessing. But I don't totally blame the cops on this one, even though I'd be like, when they deserve criticism, I'll give them criticism. But like in this situation, I thought they were like really just doing their job really. And when I talked to one of them while down at the rally, he seemed pretty calm. He seemed pretty cooperative, and he told us the best way to get back to where the protesters were. On the street, because everyone's running around. I mean, even the light rail was running just on the block over, and it was just a lot of people, a lot of yelling, a lot of police officers. It was a heck of a scene. I mean, that's a once in a lifetime opportunity there, and it's just 2 blocks down from our campus, 2 blocks from here actually. We're recording this podcast, so
yeah, I'm really glad I got the chance to attend and
experience that. Yeah, it was
an experience.
It was an experience, but I mean, that's everything I got on that pretty much. Yeah.
So on a lighter note, we are currently in week 3 of the NFL preseason, and I believe this weekend is when, or early next week is when college football games begin.
Mm-hmm.
So, you got any predictions for how the NFL playoffs will end up? Like, who's going to win the divisions? Who's going to win the wild card?
So, where do you want to start with, like, the AFC East?
That's an easy division. We can start or end with that division.
I don't know. Because the Patriots will win the AFC East. I don't want to explain too much about that. We'll do a football.
Yeah, there's nothing to go into.
Nothing to go on that one. Then for AFC North, if I had to just pick a team right now off the top of my head, I'd probably go with Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh looks good.
As long as Bell stays healthy, they should win the division. I mean, Cincinnati.
They're improving, but they're not. They're not.
I mean, like as long as Marvin Jones is still the head coach, like they have trouble. Marvin Lewis, my bad. Marvin Jones is a wide receiver. As long as Marvin Lewis is their head coach, they're not going to improve that much, in my opinion, at least. And then Cleveland's Cleveland,
and Baltimore's on the decline.
Baltimore's not terrible.
No, they're not terrible, but they're on the decline. They've got an aging quarterback.
That's true. They do have, but the defense.
I like that defense. Strong. The defense is still
strong. Good.
But I think the best all-around team in the AFC North is the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Especially if their young front seven improves, and it probably will.
The AFC South, I think, is the most interesting division in the
I'd say Houston.
AFC right now.
To be honest, I would say Houston. There's a lot of teams. I mean, you can even make a case for Jacksonville, but like
as long as they don't throw Blake Bortles out there every Sunday.
Yeah, but I mean, but
Yeah,
I like
no,
Tom.
yeah.
I have faith in Tom Coughlin. That's why.
He's a good coach.
Did you hear Chad Henne might be the starter in Jacksonville? Oh my.
He's
goodness.
starting this week for their preseason game, and if it goes
Number
well,
3, he
may
big,
start
yeah.
the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
And obviously the Colts, if Andrew Luck stays healthy, they
I heard he might be out for
have
week 1.
potential.
I heard he might be out for week 1. You hear about that?
Yeah.
It was a shoulder injury. Yeah, shoulder injury. He might be out for week 1.
But if Andrew Luck can stay healthy, then which he won't. But if he could, then they have a say. If
there's no one around him,
no.
it's like the reason why he gets hurt is because of that offensive line. I think it's not. I don't know. It's really just him. It's
but
more the
there's
line.
never been anyone around him, and they've done a good job of competing.
Somehow
in that division.
competing, and we don't really understand why.
So if he
But
stays
I think
healthy,
Houston's. Yeah.
I think Houston looks good.
I think Houston wins the division. Because I'm a big Watson guy. I think Watson's going to be anything's an upgrade over Brock Osweiler. So as long as he's just better than Brock Osweiler, they should win the division again. Even though I like Tennessee a lot too. So
yeah, I mean I'm biased towards the Titans, but I think definitely in the AFC, the best running back duo is DeMarco Murray and Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
And I think Rashard Matthews is going to have a good year this year.
I like the Eric Decker sign.
Eric Decker's a great pickup in the offseason. Delaney Walker is, when Gronk gets injured, jumps up to 3rd, 4th best tight end in the league. And because he's had a good season. He's had a good past few seasons. He gets concussed every once in a while, but
yeah.
And Marcus Mariota is a hard guy to count out.
Yeah, he's just such a talented player. I've always liked him more than Jameis Winston, for example. I mean, he's good. He has good accuracy. He's excellent with his mobility skills. He makes plays. You know, he has solid mechanics. He's just his frame he's too slight of a frame, which is why he's injury prone. Like I remember going to a Patriots-Titans game and seeing Mariota on the sidelines, and he was just really slightly framed. He's not as big as a guy as you'd think, at least in my opinion.
So that's going to be an interesting division because I think it comes down to Houston, Tennessee, and I don't know when they last play each other. It'll come down to that game. But you can also make a case
or if Chad Henne
very easily for Indianapolis, and you could, with Allen Robinson and Hearns and Leonard Fournette, you can there is a case to be made.
And that defense has improved. And they got they have a lot of the young talent on that Jaguars team, and now Tom Coughlin's in charge now, so that brings more stability, I think, with that Jaguars franchise. How about the AFC West is the other division we have to do. The AFC
and
division.
That'll be an interesting one too. I don't know if it'll be as interesting, but it will be interesting because you've got the Chiefs, who aren't a great team, but they've got talent. Alex Smith always
they're the Chiefs.
Pulls it out.
They're solid.
Yeah.
They're going to be good at defense.
The Broncos have the best defense in the league, so that'll... And
Houston might have the best defense in the league. But it's debatable. I really like Houston's defense.
They're both...
Yeah, they're both up there, top 5. Just say top 5. Yeah, it's Denver's top 5, has a top 5 defense. Chiefs have a great defense. It's tough to
Trevor
say.
Siemian.
I'm a big Trevor Siemian guy. I like him a lot.
Paxton Lynch could win the job by the end, but
yeah,
we'll see how that ends up. Oakland's got a scary offense.
They lost a couple linemen.
Yes. And Marshawn Lynch isn't fantastic, but Derek Carr and Amari Cooper is a great combination.
Yeah.
One of the top.
And we'll see about Marshawn Lynch, right? Yeah.
It could be a good signing. It could be a bad signing.
Yeah.
We'll see. The Chargers are just the team in that division that there's not much of a case for.
No, but I kind of like the Chargers. Not gonna lie, they're not that bad. They're not that bad.
No,
they're not as bad as you think. They're not like
they're just in a division
they're not
that they can't
they're
do
not
anything.
0-16 bad. Like they're about as good as Buffalo or Miami without Tannehill. Without Tannehill. With Tannehill, that's a potential playoff team. But without him, I mean, they got Jay Cutler.
So
I have many feelings on Jay Cutler.
I think the way this playoffs go, at least the bracket to start off in the AFC side is obviously the AFC East is won by
the Pats.
The North, I think the Steelers take.
Yeah. Then Houston
or Tennessee.
And I think Tennessee takes a wild card spot.
Yeah, I think whoever doesn't win the AFC South takes a wild card spot.
Yeah, and that includes. I mean, Oakland's not quite as strong as it was last year, and
Yeah.
What if Alex Smith just isn't enough anymore? For Kansas City, that is.
Yeah, the AFC West is an odd one because one of those teams will get the second wild card spot, but it's too early with those teams to say because Trevor Siemian could go off or he could not show up just as it went last year.
I think he's solid. I'd want him as my starting quarterback. I think he's way better than Paxton Lynch. I don't know about you, but
he's better than Paxton Lynch. I just don't know if he's good enough to win a division or even get a wild card spot.
Yeah, but last year they lost a lot of close games at the end of games, and it was the opposite the year before, which is one of the reasons why they won the Super Bowl. It was like a team of destiny, and then last year was like the opposite of that. So this year, I mean, they'll win some of those close games, and they'll be more of like a 10-6, 11-5 team instead of a what they go like 7-9, something like that.
Something like that. They started off the season great, and then they ended up falling off by the end of the year.
Yeah. Next,
so obviously the NFC.
Went through the NFC East.
NFC East is going to be a toss. I think Dallas ends up pulling that one out, but I will say for the first 6 weeks, that will be the Giants to lose.
You don't think the Giants?
I don't. When Zeke gets back behind the best offensive line in the league, I don't think that the Giants will be able to win that division.
The Giants are a little overrated this year because they still have no line and no running game, so it's like.
Well, and I do think that's another AFC South situation where whoever falls to second in that division, whether it's the Cowboys or the Giants, picks up that first wild card spot. I just think, I don't think that Cowboys will have as good of a season as they had last year, where they ended up top in the NFC.
Yeah, I don't see it.
I do think that division is theirs to lose.
Yeah. Dallas didn't really improve in their secondary either. That's what really killed them last year, especially in the NFC divisional game. Yeah, against Green Bay, that really killed them. Rodgers carved them up, but Rodgers carves everybody up. So.
Speaking of Green Bay and the NFC North, that's who they'll win.
Yeah,
they'll win that division.
Detroit will be weird again. No reason to think any other way.
The Vikings won't do anything.
Chicago might be even worse.
I don't think they'll win more than 4 games this year.
Yeah, I mean, we could say that about a lot of teams, too. So it's tough to say. Trubisky's will be the interesting factor in that.
The sooner they start him, the better off they are.
Yeah. But, I mean...
Not in terms of getting a playoff spot.
He's not in the right situation, that's all I'm just saying. He should have gone to a team where he sits for, 2 or 3 years and develops because he's really raw. But he's really talented. You can see the talent. It's just, he just needs time. I mean, he's only started in, 13... college games. That's it.
It's a small number.
He's very limited college experience. He's a 1-year starter in college, so that's a problem, especially if he's the starter week 1. Mike Glennon, I like Mike Glennon, but he's looked terrible in the preseason. So
yeah.
The
NFC South is, I think, and I'm biased. I
think Atlanta wins.
I think Atlanta wins it, but I think it's going to be It's going to be like the AFC South. You could make a case for. Carolina is going to be a strong team. You could make a case for Tampa Bay because
Tampa's
they picked up Deshaun Jackson.
Big pickup.
I still do agree that Marcus Mariota is better than Jameis Winston, and I think Jameis Winston is arguably the worst starting quarterback in that division. Not that it's an easy division.
That's true, actually. Yeah, I'm at first.
He's a good quarterback, but he's
wow, that's true.
He's a good quarterback, but he's arguably the worst in that division. But he's got the talent around him with Doug Martin at running back and Vincent Jackson, Mike Evans, and Deshaun Jackson as his top 3 receivers.
Jackson and Evans, that'll be a dynamite 1-2. And then O.J. Howard at tight end. O.J. Howard's going to be amazing this year.
It's going to be...
He might be one of the 3 best tight ends in football by the end of the year.
But I think the Saints are the only team you can't really make a case for in that division.
They're just so bad in defense.
Drew Brees will still throw 5,000 yards.
Yeah.
And AP will go off, but the defense won't be able to do anything.
Not an AP guy. But anyway, beside the fact, he's old. He's a running back over on the wrong side of 30 with injury problems. I don't think that works. Especially last year, he did nothing. And even when the games he played in, he had poor games. So I don't think he's any good anymore. So that's why I avoided him for fantasy.
I mean, obviously
I like Mark Ingram better. I'm a Mark Ingram guy.
Mark Ingram hasn't had a good season in the NFL yet.
I'm a Mark Ingram guy.
Also, the Saints lost
pretty
Brandon Cooks, so
That's true. But I mean, I feel like you put anybody in that Saints system and they'll figure it out. Like, you know what I'm saying? I mean, Mark Ingram had 1,000 yards rushing 2 years ago and 700 yards the year before with less carries. He's not bad.
he also only.
It's
had
also a
12
passing
touchdowns
offense.
in 2 seasons.
It's also a passing offense.
They're not going to be. The point is, their offense will be fine.
Their offense will be fine.
Their defense.
We're talking
will
way
suck.
too much about the Saints.
Yeah, they're not going to. There's no discussion for the Saints being in the playoffs, so I don't know why we're talking about
Okay, then NFC West.
NFC West, Seahawks.
Yeah, Seattle's lose. Yeah, you know, like what San Francisco did this offseason, picking up all those veterans. Like how I liked what Cleveland did, which is basically, you know, the Sam Hinkie Sixers model of just like tank, get all the picks you can. Danny Ainge model, but I know one or two things about that. Yes, but I think it's definitely Seattle's to lose because LA stinks. San Francisco's still not going to be good, obviously.
And Arizona's a very
Arizona's like how good is Carson Palmer anymore? Do we know?
We don't know.
We don't know.
One game he'll go out and throw 250 yards, and then the next game he'll throw 3 picks.
Yeah, that's Carson. That's like his whole career.
Larry Fitzgerald's solid though.
Yeah, he'll be good again.
But I think that's Seattle's to lose, and I don't think they lose it.
Yeah. Arizona's defense might keep them in some games. Yeah. Well, Arizona is interesting. Like, I mean, this was a team that won like 12 games 2 years ago, and last year they were like 7-9, 6-10.
They were below 500. I think it was 7-8-1 because they had that tie.
Oh yeah, that stupid game when they missed all the field goals. I mean, it's a weird team, really, and they lost Calais Campbell too, so that's gonna hurt the defense a little bit. But I think their defense will be fine in the end.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty much the NFL there for you.
It's the NFL.
As the teams, who do you think will make the playoffs? Yeah. But going on right now, like, in season is baseball, so let's talk a little bit about baseball. The Dodgers won today, and Rich Hill yesterday. Yeah.
How does the team that, as much as I hate the Dodgers, how does the best team in the league, who could lose a large majority of their games and still have triple-digit wins, not score a single run while their pitcher is throwing a no-hitter?
I've been hearing like I was listening to the Dodgers broadcast today about the game that they actually won. And apparently they've been like leaving guys in scoring position like lately, like the last few games.
Which is not a good.
Apparently they left
sign.
10 guys on base last game.
That's not a good sign.
Which is
gotta
crazy.
Go,
Yeah,
because right now they're playing the Pirates, who
or a mediocre team at best. Like,
so when you have to go in and play a team like Arizona, who is extremely hot right now, or a Cubs team that is also very hot right now.
The Cubs are arguably the hottest team, best team in the second half of the season. They've been great. I mean, other than the Dodgers, but except for the Dodgers.
But when your first round matchup is going to either be the Diamondbacks, who are hot, the Cardinals if they overtake the Rockies, and even if the Rockies win that, they will have to be just as hot.
The Cardinals are hot, yeah.
Either of those teams will have to be hot to get second in the wild card, or the Cubs, who are arguably the hottest team since the All-Star break, and you are leaving runners in scoring position, you are not in a good situation.
I think Arizona will hold on. They're a good, well-rounded team. I know St. Louis is creeping up to them, but I don't know if St. Louis has the offense.
I don't think Arizona will host the wild card game.
Yeah, I don't know if Paul DeJong's going to keep up this hot streak he's having for St. Louis. I think Arizona's still host the wild card game because I don't know how. It's just Colorado's pitching is just such a,
hit or miss.
Yeah, it's just not good. I mean, they don't have a single guy with an ERA under 4. It's just a consistent theme with them, but they've hit so well this year that they're probably going to make the playoffs. Yeah. St. Louis could overturn them because it's St. Louis and just the history there and the way they develop players, and even though they got off to a god awful start, now they've been churning, especially in the second half. But I think Colorado still hangs on. I think the offense is really good.
I think the offense will keep them into the wild card.
Yeah.
I will say though, a more interesting St. Louis, Arizona is definitely a more interesting wild card game between the two options.
Yeah,
But-
those are two pretty well-rounded.
But I think Colorado holds on, and we see a divisional matchup leading into another divisional matchup.
Yeah, when they face the Dodgers and probably lose. But you never know. The Dodgers are a team that
The Dodgers
loses.
are cooling off, and
That's
they
true.
are known for choking. In
It's
the
still
playoffs.
early. I mean, what if they catch fire in September? But I mean, my point is more with that is like they're just not good in the playoffs.
Yeah, they're never good in the playoffs, and I
Yeah.
think the worry for me is last year you saw a Cubs team that even when they got to 70, 80 wins in August,
Yeah.
there was still a fire under their ass.
Yeah.
Right now, this Dodgers team looks like a team that's sitting there and they're like, oh, we're 20 games up on the Diamondbacks. Let's just relax and we'll make the playoffs and we'll be fine. We're the best team in baseball.
Yeah.
There is no fire
That's
in
true.
that clubhouse right now. And
Well,
that is,
there's nothing pressuring them. Yeah.
yeah, there's nothing pressuring
Yeah.
them, and they don't have any desire to just go out there and continue winning games. And that is not a mindset you want to have 30 days out
Yeah.
of.
Not only did the Cubs have
playoffs.
that pressure from underneath them, they also had the fact that they haven't won a World Series in 108 years, and I mean that's automatic pressure right there. And Los Angeles is a very laid back market, even though there's a lot of Dodgers fans out there. It's still a pretty laid back media
it's-
market.
There's different
And
situations.
yeah, and the fact that they're, even though the two teams behind them are probably gonna make the playoffs, they're still like 20 games up, something absurd like that. They had, and I think before yesterday, they had a better road record than every single other team in baseball had as a home record, which is absurd. So I mean, that's how far up they are on everybody else, and that could potentially spell danger. Like, I mean, the Mariners, the 116-win Mariners team lost in the first round. Like, it could easily happen.
Well, I mean, the Cubs won, 112 games last year?
Something like that, yeah.
Something like that. And whether it was the 108-year streak or the fact that the NL Central was competing for a chunk of the season, because it wasn't until after the All-Star break that the Cubs started to show up and pull away. Whether it's that or whether it was just that they kept that fire going, there was a clear fire the entire season, and we haven't seen that recently with the Dodgers, and they could light it up when mid-September rolls around or when October starts, but it could also spell trouble when you've got a team like the Cardinals or the Rockies or the Diamondbacks that have been hot for a good amount of time.
Yeah.
Or the Cubs even, that you're playing early on.
The Diamondbacks are a really well-rounded team. I'm working on an article right now for the State Press about like how they have a puncher's chance at the World Series, because that's like they're adding JD Martinez lengthened their lineup more, and once they get Owings and Ahmed back, it'll add more depth in the middle infield, and I think that will lengthen out their lineup more, especially with Owings. He's a good hitter. The kid's a good hitter. And they already have an excellent rotation. They're second in the National League in ERA at the moment. So it's as long as the bullpen hangs on, like with Rodney, I know he's a giant wild card, and I know like half the teams in the league have had him, and they know exactly what I'm talking about. But
He's a hit or miss closer.
he's a hit or miss closer.
Which is
Trust
not,
me.
Which is typically not what you want when you're
In
competing
October.
for a World Series.
Yeah,
But
every team has a flaw.
every team has a flaw, and if we're going to bring up a well-rounded team with a hit or miss closer, the Giants team that won 3 World Series in 6 years
Had Sergio
had
Romo.
Brian Wilson and then Sergio Romo as
like,
their closers,
No.
which are 2 of the most hit or miss closers
not Mario Rivera.
in the last 20 years.
Yeah,
And those teams were extremely well-rounded everywhere else.
yeah.
There was not a single weak point in the defensive side.
Yeah, and those teams won with pitching. Those Giants teams won with pitching. And guess what? This Diamondbacks team has pitching. And I know we might sound biased because we're sitting here in Arizona and we're 2 blocks away from
that's a good
Chase
team.
Field. But that's still a good team. I like the well-roundedness of it.
I
Even
think-
though, as of late, like they lost the first wild card spot and they've been trading back and forth with Colorado all year for that. But I still think, like on paper and once they get healthy,
Well,
it's
and
a good
here's
team.
my hot take of the night.
Okay.
I think, because you look at the teams that will be in the playoffs, I think the team that makes it out of the National League is the Arizona Diamondbacks. Because the 2 teams with the higher spots, the Dodgers and the Nationals,
Yeah.
are historically known for choking in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And between the Cubs and the Diamondbacks, the Cubs will beat the Nationals, but then the Cubs
The
while
Cubs,
they're
yeah.
hotter, but they're not as well rounded as the Diamondbacks, and they will have that pressure.
I don't know about that. The more I would say, the reason why I'd say the Cubs would probably lose is just because of the fact no teams won the
Well, yeah,
World
that's
Series
what I was
back-to-back
also about
years.
to get to.
Yeah,
Was
yeah.
then there's the pressure of the fact that you're trying to win back-to-back years
Yeah.
of a World Series when
Hasn't
you
happened.
haven't won in 108 years before last year's.
Yeah. It's like, I don't know. That's what I certainly feel like. But I think, again, like, the Cubs are a really well-rounded team. They got an excellent closer in Wade Davis. Their rotation has playoff experience, even though it hasn't pitched that well this year. And offensively, they got guys who have been there. It's like they have talent, even though it hasn't performed well. But at the same time, once they get there, they've all been there. And that's a big advantage over Arizona. But at the same time, like, that pressure of, just the lack of precedent of a team winning the World Series back-to-back years. I think if you had to put a gun to my head, I'd say Chicago would get out of the National League, but at the same time, I think Arizona would be like my second pick.
They will be playing each other in the NLCS.
Yeah.
And
Colorado
we have
would be
differing
my
opinions,
pick.
but
Similar opinions, because I like Arizona. They have a puncher's chance at the World Series. They really do.
and it'll be interesting to see when we get if Arizona makes it to the World Series. It will be interesting to see because Houston is a very talented offensive team.
Yeah.
With good to great defensive players.
Yeah.
Not very many
Up
defensive
and down.
all-stars outside of the middle infield.
Yeah.
And their pitching is very hit or miss.
Well, can it stay healthy? That's the
Yeah.
thing. Like, that's the problem.
So
Is
the
the rotation
current
good
pitcher,
enough
the
to win
current
games?
rotation is very hit or miss.
Yeah.
And when they have their other starters, they can't stay healthy very long.
Yeah. In my opinion, Houston has been the better and hotter team all year, but I think my team has a chance through the Red Sox. Like, if you had to pick a second team out of the American League, it's either Boston or Cleveland.
And that'll be an interesting series too because
an ALDS series. Yeah.
both of them have been heating up since the All-Star break.
Exactly. Especially Boston. We've been really good as of late. I'm really excited. The Devers, the calling up Devers has really sparked the offense. Eduardo Nunez also has really sparked.
And I think
the offense.
I think the American League is going to have an interesting wild card game as well because we will
probably
get
see
New York
against
and
somebody.
I'm thinking it's the Angels.
I don't know. I don't think it's Minnesota, even though Minnesota's right there right now. Sano just got hurt, and
But
I
between
don't know
the
how they're
Angels, the
doing it. They don't
Royals,
have a closer.
the Angels, the Royals, or the Mariners, between those teams, you will see one of them play in New York to get the chance to play most likely the Astros.
Yeah, and the Mariners are in it. Like, I guess you pick the Angels, but it's tough. I think
It's tough.
Tampa's kind of out of it now. I know the Orioles technically are like
The Athletics
3 or
are
4 games back, but
Clearly out of it.
yeah, the A's are way out of it. And Texas is technically in it too because
They're technically in it, and they've had some
Yeah.
good games, but then they
yeah
show up and they
Yeah.
choke a few games away.
But I guess it's the Angels. If you had to pick a team, because
Or if the Twins can keep it together, then the Twins.
They
I
don't
don't.
have
I
a
don't
closer,
expect them
and
to.
Sano's hurt. They got their second
Yeah, I
best
don't
hitter is
expect
Brian
them to keep
Dozier.
it
He's
together, but
13
if
home
they can,
runs.
yeah.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know. I think I go with the Angels because after Trout, even after Trout, their lineup's not bad, and somehow they're putting it together pitching wise with guys.
This is
like,
the Angels team that. This is what people expected the Angels to be like 4 or 5 years ago when Trout came out.
Yeah.
Was they expected them to be a team
A contender.
that would contend, not necessarily win the division, although at this time the Astros sucked, and the Rangers were the next best team in the
Yeah. We thought
division. So we thought the Angels would be winning divisions and going off.
Yeah.
And now we're finally seeing that come to fruition.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for them, the Astros have finally gotten good, and the Red Sox are playing very good baseball, and the Indians are playing very good baseball.
Pitching-wise especially. What the Red Sox have, unlike what any other team has, is they have arguably one of the best pitchers, one of the 3 best pitchers in the game going for them. So if you throw them 3 times in the series, it's a pretty good shot. You're going to win those 3 games. You just have to scratch across one more win. So as long as we can hit in the playoffs, then I think we'll be fine. But I think Houston's still the favorite given the fact that they have some playoff experience because 2 seasons ago they were 9 outs away from beating Kansas City, and that Royals team ended up going on to win the World Series. So this is a similar team from that team 2 years ago. They haven't changed too much, and if Keuchel and company stay healthy in the postseason and pitch well in the postseason, then they got a real good shot of getting to the World Series. I think they'd be my pick. I'd say Chicago and Houston, and maybe Houston edges them out, something like that. But I mean, it's a very unpredictable year, like every single other year in baseball.
I think, and here's my prediction before we move on to the next topic, which is Game of Thrones. The way I think this is going to play out is we will see a Diamondbacks Red Sox World Series. And I don't really know how to see that one going because that's 2 teams that have very good offensive players but are built from their pitching staff.
Houston's offensive.
No. Boston.
Oh, yeah, Boston. Yeah, Boston.
Boston and Arizona.
Boston, yeah, my bad. I don't know what
No,
I'm
you're
thinking.
good.
Yes, exactly. Those are 2 teams built from their pitching staffs and
Because I think if
have offensive
I think obviously if you got Houston, Arizona, it could be very reminiscent of the Giants' 3 World Series victories, where they came up against a team that had an ace like Dallas Keuchel, but that was very offensive minded.
Yeah.
But with Boston and Arizona, those are 2 teams that are built from the rotation onwards, and they both have very good batting lineups, but they're built from the rotation onward, and it will be an interesting.
Another wild card
World
for
Series
Houston is
matchup.
that they have Carlos Beltran. That's a really good veteran who can steer the ship in the postseason, especially. I mean, he's hungry for a World Series appearance. But anyway, as your Red Sox Diamondbacks prediction goes, again, like he said, those are 2 teams that are built from their pitching staffs.
And I think it's one that would go into 7. At that point, I think the Red Sox being at home in Game 7 would pull it out, but I could see that one going into 7 and go either way.
I think we're a better team than Arizona, but I think Arizona would be the hotter team going into the series.
Very much so.
Yeah, I mean it's one of the hot team wins in these baseball scenarios, so it's a little early to predict these things. But I feel like this is the sort of postseason where like somebody unexpected is just gonna like catch fire and take over the postseason. Like what if Steven Strasburg just like goes off for Washington or something? Or the Angels. Heck, the Angels. Colorado's not getting anywhere.
Colorado's no.
I'm sorry, Ethan. Colorado's not getting anywhere.
What if Aaron Judge suddenly heats up again?
I doubt that.
I don't either, but
I doubt
this
that.
would be the playoffs.
He's been striking out. He's struck out like 37 straight times. I mean, it's
he's not doing well.
It's terrible. But
That's
the Yankees don't have the pitching, even if they did win the wild card game. It's like Severino would go Game 1, and I guess they have to like Jordan Montgomery in Game 2. It'd be weird. Like Sonny Gray. I'm not a big Sonny Gray fan. This stuff isn't as good as it used to be. Anyway,
he's great as a 3 or 4 guy, but he's not.
Yeah.
He's not your ace.
He's not. Yeah, he's not what he was like 4 or 5 years ago. He's with Houston, with Oakland, with that great curveball.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's pretty much what we got for baseball at the moment. The next topic on the panel is probably going to be about Game of Thrones. The new episode comes out in 3 days.
So if you're not caught up,
Catch
turn it
up.
off now.
Turn it off now.
Catch up. Then come back in 67 hours when you finally watch the entire show.
Yeah.
Otherwise, so...
What are your thoughts?
Damn.
We still haven't watched an episode together. We got to do that.
But damn, the Night King has just improved.
That's a big win. He was winner of the week. Yeah, every week they on Twitter they have like the Amazon poll like winner of the week, and I think it was Night King, because I mean anyone who gains a dragon, especially
with that army.
Yeah, like an ice breathing dragon. Yeah, with a giant army. I feel like was that his entire army that Drogon like eviscerated in this episode? I feel like it was, or is that just like a section of it? It's weird.
I think that was.
I feel like he can just add people.
That is a very large army that is very easy to just continue to grow.
Yeah, it was like a football stadium worth of people, and that's like a section of his army.
Yeah, that was
stupid.
not even a quarter of his army.
Oh, I don't even. Who knows? Like, it was. Yeah, I think it was a good episode. You can nitpick a few things here. I have some nitpicks with it. I think there's been some, a little. People have been a little too harsh on it. It's just some of the feedback I've gotten on the episode, but I still think it was really entertaining. I think the dialogue in the beginning of the episode as they're walking, to the mountain, on the other side of the wall was excellent. I think the dialogue about like succession of the throne after Daenerys takes it over was
good.
Excellent. I think the acting obviously was superb. I mean, like it was still. I think it was an awesome episode. Probably top 5 in my opinion. But I mean, we'll get to. We'll just get the nitpicks right now. Like the one one of the slight problems I have is like there's the scene when Jon's running back to the dragon and he gets just tackled by like 3 walkers, and he's getting dragged down in frozen water with 3 walkers, and yet he somehow is able to beat off the walkers and then swim up while his limbs are like frozen because he's been out there for like days and days. So that's a little much. I don't know about you. Like, what are your thoughts on like that little
Yeah,
scene?
that's one of those things that I've noticed. That's one of my nitpicks for this entire season that I've noticed. Is it's gone away from the original Game of Thrones where there was never a safe character.
Yeah, it's a little safe now.
Like,
I agree.
Like between Jon, Daenerys, Cersei, even Jorah and the Hound.
Yeah.
And
All they killed was I'm not good with names. Thoros, yeah, they killed Thoros.
But between
That's it.
Tyrion, Jon, Daenerys, Cersei, Jorah, the Night King,
yeah,
they're all alive. Safe and alive.
And you know they're not gonna die. That's the thing. Like the previous episodes, they would have killed off Cersei by now.
And I'd much rather know that they're not gonna die and not have them be put in these dangerous situations.
Yeah.
Than have them be put in these situations where it's like, oh look, this person could die, and then just they magically survive.
I feel like obviously the effects in this season are better. I think that's obvious, but there hasn't been as much small talk because there's only 7 episodes, and I think the fact that they made it only 7 episodes is kind of like throwing them off their game just a tad bit. But it's still spectacular though. Like,
yes.
That doesn't change our mind. Like we still like Game of Thrones. Like don't worry.
Don't worry. This is just our nitpick is that the season is very
like that was such a predictable episode. I'm sorry. Like I could have seen everything coming.
Nitpicking.
Kind of.
I also have an issue with this whole expedition up to get a White Walker. Like
I can defend. Actually.
Well, I understand them writing it. Like I get that they wrote it in so they could just be like, here, look, this is how we'll convince people that the White Walkers exist. But I also didn't think they needed to have this, make it a big expedition where you throw 10 major characters out into the wild.
They didn't need
and
like
make a
10
big show of
characters. Okay, that's true.
Like you could make
but at the same time, you need to make the only way you get Daenerys to go fight them is if she sees them. That's with any of them. Like the only way you're gonna set up for season 8 is if one of the major characters, not named Jon Snow, sees White Walkers. I mean, it's the only way you do it because nobody believes.
Yeah, I don't have an issue with the story being written in that they needed to find a White Walker to show them. I have an issue with the way they did it.
Okay.
Because I would much rather have seen Jon and maybe 2 or 3 people go up and try and like ambush and get a single White Walker rather than have this group of 10 just march and go into battle with half
It's hard to
army.
get a White Walker with only like 2 or 3 people though in their defense. That's the thing. Like, I think you need like if there were only 2 or 3 of them, they would have died off real quick. I feel like that's I guess that's in my opinion at least.
Mm-hmm.
I think Daenerys' logic is flawed in trying to like rescue them, like with all 3 dragons. I mean, that was definitely set up. I don't know. We'll see what they do. Let's see what George R. R. Martin does with the books. Like, is he gonna like if the season ends well but not spectacularly, then I have a feeling he might be like motivated to like write a different ending for the books. You know what I'm saying? And we can read that or whatever. Even though I've never read the books.
Yeah.
Have you actually?
I have.
You have? Okay.
I have. I'm waiting on the 5th one to come out.
And it's
It
probably
won't
not
come
going to
out.
come out. Well, we'll see. It all depends on how good the TV show is. But anyway, yeah. I mean, what would be your what would be a prediction you have for the future of the for next episode? How about that in 3 days, or season 8?
So I think that we see, obviously we see that they're going to meet Cersei.
Yeah, we are seeing the previews. Yeah.
And I think it's going to go. I think she'll see the White Walker and not care.
Yeah.
And it will go sour.
And someone will die.
Someone will die.
I have a feeling they're
It'll be
gonna pull out some stop in this
and I
episode. They
expect-
better if they want to kind of recover from a good an action packed good but predictable episode. They got to do something unpredictable.
Have Sansa kill Littlefinger. Or I feel
we're
like
all hoping for that to happen.
yeah, we're all hoping for that, and that's
Yeah.
something that should happen sooner rather than later.
One interesting point I'll make before you continue is that Bran is being shown in the previews for this episode and in the pictures that they showed that they've released. So I mean he has some sort of
He'll
role
have
in
a
this.
role.
I don't know what it'll be. I feel like it'll be a pretty big role though. So yeah.
And the only other thing that I expect to happen or predict will happen is we will see the Hound and the Mountain duke it out. And I don't know if someone's going to die. The Mountain's undead, but I'm sure he can be killed. The Hound can be killed, obviously. I don't know if someone's going to die, but I do think...
I think they should. They got to kill
They
one of
will
the major
battle.
characters. Someone who's
That would be the saving...
Jamie or something. I don't know.
That would be the... Not that the season's been bad, because it's been one of the better half of the season.
It's been the best action season. Because when Dany attacked Jamie's army, that was the craziest freaking scene ever. That was insane. I love that episode so much. That was crazy. That was a crazy episode.
I mean, even if you want to claim that this is the worst of the seasons, it's still being the worst.
Season
I
1
don't think it is.
Season 1 was slow in the first 4 episodes. I mean, I had trouble
But every
watching
TV
those.
show is.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, I had this. I mean, also season 2, you can argue that was just
I mean,
bad
but
guys won too much. In that.
Even if you argue season 7 is the worst season, it is still a very good season.
Yeah, it's still awesome.
In a great show.
And people are still being too critical.
I just think the one way to make this season
better is do
better
something
is
really
to kill
crazy.
off a major character.
Yeah.
And I'd rather see the Mountain beat the Hound, personally.
That'd be good.
Because as much as I love the Hound, and as much as I've grown to like the Hound's character.
Yeah, even though in the beginning we hated the
Yeah.
character. Yeah. It's amazing how they've developed these characters.
I'd like to see everyone would like to see Littlefinger die, but I'd like to also see Jaime and or the Hound die, because those are two characters that everyone hated early on.
Yeah,
but now
then
they've
people
grown to
like, and then all of a
So
sudden
to
they're
see
dead.
them die
Yeah, would be big.
would be big.
Yeah.
And maybe Jaime dies at the hands of the White Walkers, and that convinces Cersei to,
How would that happen?
because there's a White Walker that
There's
they're
only
bringing
one.
to show them.
But there's only one.
I mean,
The
that's
one
all it
one
takes.
White Walker just comes out of the bag and just kills Jamie. That'd be the weirdest thing. That'd be kind of cool though. I don't know.
So all it takes is one.
I mean, he's not a very good fighter anymore, and he got one hand, so that's a shot. It'd be kind of far fetched, but I can see it happening. But anyway, that's what we got on Thrones.
Those are our wild thoughts.
Wow, that's what we got on Thrones. Last thing is as a pretty big subject for you basketball fans. Kyrie Irving just got traded to the Boston Celtics for Isaiah Thomas, Ante Zizic, Jay Crowder, and the Brooklyn Nets first round pick this upcoming season. This is the first time in NBA history that two players who averaged 25 points per game or more got traded for each other the following upcoming offseason, which is crazy. So this trade has basically never happened before. This type of momentous trades never happened before. As a Celtics fan, I would, in my opinion, I'm very excited for Kyrie Irving. He's one of the 15 best players in the league, one of the 10 best scorers in the league. just pure scores in the league. He's 25 years old. He has an NBA championship. He had a game-winning 3 in that Game 7 of that series. He's an Olympic champion. Was arguably the MVP of that team. And again, like, he has an extra year in his contract, unlike Isaiah Thomas, and Thomas has that hip problem. So obviously it's an upgrade at point guard. It's an upgrade of your star best player. It's an upgrade at the number 1 spot. You got a player who's accomplished as much as almost anybody in the league, and yet he's only 25. So his best basketball's yet to come. So I'm very, very excited for him, but I still think we gave up too much in the trade.
I think that, and I also think, I think so far, we'll see how it plays out. It was a pretty even trade in terms of talent traded around. But I will say,
it's the pick. It all comes down to the pick.
It all comes down to the pick, which will probably be a top 5 pick.
We'll see. That'll be interesting. Like, it could easily be top 5, but I can also easily see it being like 7. Because, like, if you go down the teams on the list, Orlando might be worse. Indiana is probably worse. Atlanta, no offense, is probably worse.
Than the Nets. Atlanta's bad, but worse than the Nets.
The Nets got D'Angelo Russell. The Nets have no incentive to lose. The Nets have Damari Carroll. I know that sounds weird. And the Nets, they have some pieces. The Hawks are pretty bad, bro.
Just because you're Asian and they have Jeremy Lin doesn't mean the Nets are going to...
The Nets aren't terrible. I don't think the Nets are terrible. They might win 30 games. They're not as bad as they were last year. They improved. D'Angelo Russell.
It'll be at best.
Timothy Moskov.
It'll be at worst
Damari Carroll.
It'll be at worst the 7th pick in the draft.
Yeah, which is fine. Then I'm happy. Then I'm fine with. Then I
But
can live with the trade
as
long as Kyrie Irving improves. Then I live with that trade.
I think the only
thing. But if it's top 3, then I'm like, ugh, I'm like you.
I think the only thing I see, like, pick aside, the only thing I see for the Celtics that's interesting is Kyrie Irving is very much a just ball hog, pull up and shoot all the time kind of player, and that doesn't seem like.
But he's never really
system
had
that the Celtics have been.
Yeah,
trying
but he's
to
never
build.
really had. He's never been in like a situation where he's like the facilitator. Like the first few years of his career, he was in like a terrible situation with Mike Brown as his head coach, and then LeBron came in. LeBron's the point guard. I mean, LeBron handles the ball. LeBron facilitates it.
Yeah,
and I think it's probably one of the reasons why he wanted to leave is because he wanted to be the guy, the facilitator, the point man, basically.
But part of me thinks yes, that's why he wanted to leave. Part of me also thinks he wanted to leave not because he could have been the facilitator, like the second facilitator, but instead he got the ball and pulled up. Part of me thinks he will go to Boston and just dominate the ball the way we saw Russell Westbrook or James Harden in the past few seasons do.
I'm
not positive. I'm not sure that's gonna happen.
Yeah.
But this is a system in Boston that Isaiah Thomas, just based off of what we've seen by the two of them, Kyrie's more talented.
Yeah.
And his best basketball is yet to come, unlike IT.
Yeah.
But I think Isaiah Thomas fit this system better, just based off of what we've seen.
Yeah.
The way Kyrie does.
Yeah. Well, my counterpoint to that would also be that Brad Stevens is a better coach than Billy Donovan or who else have you just mentioned is like the ball hog sort of type.
James Harden.
Harden's an excellent facilitator. He averages 8 assists per game, which I would if he's James Harden, then I'm happy. As long as he tries harder at defense. But he just has to try harder at defense. But we have Brad Stevens. I think Brad Stevens is gonna find a way to like get him involved off the ball, make him more of a facilitator. And Kyrie Irving is a player who wants to be the man. I think part of being the man is like getting your teammates involved and getting them to play better. And I think Stevens is the perfect coach to get him to start doing that more often. Like, would Curry be as good of a facilitator now if Steve Kerr wasn't his head coach? I don't think so. Or would Kevin Durant, you saw his passing really improve this year. You really saw it in the finals. A lot had to do with that as the coach. The system you're in, it really affects how good of a passer, how willing and how good of a passer you really are. And I think Irving's a player who has a lot of room to grow. So I think he can be a facilitator, even though it may not seem like that at the moment. But I have faith in Brad Stevens. He's one of the 5 best coaches in the league. I'm confident in saying that. Even as a Celtics fan, I might sound biased, but would you agree with that?
I mean, he's definitely up there.
Yeah, he's an awesome head coach.
I do think, though, it'll be interesting to see how this plays out in terms of, does Kyrie stay?
He'll stay.
And just because even with the loss of Kyrie, the Cavaliers, I think, are still the best team in the East.
I agree.
I think the Celtics, not only because they just stole a player from the Cavs, but just because of the upgrade in talent with Kyrie over IT, I think the Celtics got closer to overtaking the Cavs, but I still think the Cavs are the best team in the East, and the Warriors are still the best team in the NBA.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how this, because if Kyrie stays longer than his contract,
then he's with the team when he's 27, 28,
then
29
this Celtics
years
team
old. And
could be a team that once LeBron hits his decline and
the
once Klay
Warriors,
Thompson leaves,
or Thompson Lee, the whole bunch of things. The thing is, in NBA history, the only dynasty crazy super team that actually stayed together and kept on winning was Bill Russell Celtics, and he's the greatest winner of all time, the greatest teammate of all time. That's a giant exception. But like with every other NBA dynasty, they've all crumbled to some degree. It all started with the Knicks teams in the early 70s, Magic, even Magic's Lakers teams. They won 5 titles in a decade span, but at the same time, Kareem got old.
Even the Celtics teams
Kareem
at that time.
Bird got hurt. Kobe and Shaq got into a feud. LeBron went to Cleveland. Just go down the line, and hell, Jordan played baseball. Jordan went to go play baseball, and they muted that little dynasty. So I think something's gonna happen to this Warriors team in the next 2 years, 3 years. Just give it 2 or 3 years. And Durant's knee, Curry's ankles. I mean, they're not gonna stay young forever. So I think it's a good power move to go for the now, even though it may seem like they're not gonna win the title now. Because Irving's a now move and a future move because he's 25 years old. I think that's just my main reason in that. And I know it sounds weird, and really the only older player they have on the roster is Al Horford, and even when he's on the last year of his contract, you use that deal as an expiring when you're a real contender, and that can be an asset. So, I like the idea. I like the premises and the idea of this move and the Celtics offseason in general. I know I think in the Bradley trade they could have got a little more, and in this trade they gave up too much. But at the same time, the idea and the premises of it, and I can definitely see it working out for us. And it's been a really crazy offseason for the Boston Celtics. Danny really came through, traded Danny. Yeah.
Yeah. So we've hit an hour. Those are the wild thoughts that we've got for this week. We'll be back next Friday with some more wild thoughts.
Yep.
So later, everybody.
Later.
It's delicious.